I'm going to read a part in the Oversoul 7 trilogy. It is a part from the further education of Oversoul 7, and I recommend this book to anyone. It's so great, especially if you know already about the Seth material, all of his books. This book is so great. So this is a little book that Oversoul 7 wants to make available to children and adults alike. So he calls it his little book. And the first part of the book is further inside of the book, and it's the Sumari geography. So I'm going to start right here. Sumari cities are states of mind. They are quite as real as physical cities, more real, if the truth be known. And they have their own boundaries, cultures, crafts, and trades. Some people are travelers, visiting one city after another, and sometimes even living in two cities at once. For in the Sumari cities, moods and thoughts are like streets, alleys, or wide boulevards, all existing together and intersecting. So two Sumari cities can become one all of a sudden without bothering the inhabitants at all, who are simply aware of the added richness of their surroundings and an astonishing freshness of experience that they hadn't noticed before. In other words, the boundaries can shift and change constantly, with streets and paths always appearing and disappearing. A Sumari city can suddenly become very small also, with dark hills springing up closely about it, shutting out the sunshine and hemming in the shops until it seems that the city has no room in which to grow. Now, each person alive really lives in a Sumari city, or in several at the same time, no matter where he or she lives in the world outside. And all of the real work and creativity takes place first in these inner Sumari landscapes. People visit them at night when they're asleep in the outside world, but even when they're awake outside, some part of them is always aware of their citizenship in the inside world. Of course, a whole Sumari reality is involved, with its own mental continents, countries, oceans, and deserts that are inner counterparts of the world outside. Only the Sumari world is there or here all the time. I mean, you live in it whether you're alive or dead in outside terms. So it's very durable and forms the physical world that you're beginning to know. But the Sumari world is more responsive and changeable because, well, everything moves by thought and feeling. And as you'll soon discover, people's feelings change all the time. So worried people all together in one inner city might make a mountain tower above them, dark and threatening, so that everyone stops what they're doing to look up at it and worry some more. But their worrying just makes the mountain higher and darker and more threatening. But even then, some wise child or man or woman will say, sooner or later, our worrying only makes the mountain grow more frightening. So let's unworry it away, let's ignore it and see what happens. And if enough people listen and follow those suggestions, then in a twinkling the mountain disappears and the city is free of it. And when those same people are awake in the outside world, they remember what they learned and realize that their thoughts and feelings cause their physical experience too. Or, at the very least, they'll realize that their worrying can turn into a mountain of trouble. In the outside world, of course, mountains stay around much longer, and there are happy mountains too in any case. But the inner, bothersome ones don't have to grow at all. All adventures and explorations really take people into inner landscapes where they can make their own underground caverns and woody paths and oceans to sail across. Then the people experience it all topside, so to speak. People are always creating the physical world too, you see, materializing it in space and time, in the richness of its seasons. And to do that is a magnificent adventure. Most Sumari cities are the most brilliant, splendid places imaginable, and their light and creativity shines from the inner landscapes to the outside one, so that the physical world is always illuminated. And each physical city always has some joy and vitality shining through, no matter what may be happening there. Each person is unique, so are you. You have so many aspects of yourself that you create physical lives in which you can focus on particular abilities and fulfill and enjoy them. In so doing, you help yourself and others too, and add to the richness of being. But that's a subject for later on. The charmed life. Each life is charmed, Seven said, yours and everyone else's, and you must never forget it. The instant you're born, you're charmed, because life itself is a charm. Each being is charmed into existence in whatever reality it finds itself, and given everything it needs to operate in the environment. Your body is charmed too. It's a magic part of everything else, springing up from all the things you see about you. Atoms and molecules go singing through the miraculous air, forming themselves into rocks and trees and dogs and cats and people too. You are magic. You charm the air so that it thickens into your body wherever you go. When you want to move, you think the air ahead of you into becoming your body, and the air behind you then stops being your body. All very magical indeed. You move your arm just 1 inch to the right, and the air to the left 1 inch stops being part of your arm. But it all happens so quickly, your snatching of the air and making it turn into your body, that you never notice it at all, and take it quite for granted. Which is why it works so well, you see? But your life is charmed, and there is a secret, a very simple one. Really, it's not a secret, but you have to remember that your life is charmed. People who forget can't use their magic nearly as well as they did before, and they have a tendency to get angry at those who can. So often they pretend that no magic exists at all. Then they evolve great philosophies to prove it, which is itself magical, of course. But they can't see that because they're so convinced that magic doesn't exist. And many people forget how simple and natural magic is, so they evolve long theories and methods that are supposed to make it work, when you and I know, and everyone else really knows, that magic happens by itself, because that's what magic is. But people are also very creative, magic again. So they make up gods of this and that, and realms and spheres, and maps to chart out in advance where magic might be taking them so they don't get surprised, which is silly because magic goes where it wants to, which is everywhere. And when you try to map it out in advance, you really cut yourself short. Because a characteristic of magic is that it automatically turns into whatever it wants to be. You create your own reality with it, so whatever maps you make are real. And if you forget what magic is, then you're liable to think that your map is the only real one, and all others are fake. You get in a terrible bind fighting over which way is right, which road or map, while all the time, magic is what makes the maps. And a great variety of maps can appear in the twinkling of an eye. Particularly when you grow up, many people will tell you that there is no magic. If you believe them, then you'll forget too, and you'll act as if you aren't charmed and bring unmagic into your life, which is magic too, you see, but magic that doesn't know itself. Then you'll create things that go with unmagic, like sorrow or sickness, and you'll have to deal with them at that level until you remember that your life is charmed again. So, in the meantime, you'll feel nasty and unloved and angry, way beyond what is natural, and have to worry about sad or fearful emotions and what to do with them. When magically you'd know they just come and go exuberantly like summer storms. But anger and hate and sorrow are all magic too, and left alone, they'd lead you back to the knowledge that your life is charmed. Because hate is love looking for itself every place but where love is. And love is what you feel for yourself when you know that you are where you're supposed to be in the universe, and that you're lovely just because you are, and of course, charmed. Not only that, but you're also the magic maker, the inner living part of you that forms your life. But consciously, you have to know this, accept and acknowledge it, and let the magic of yourself happen. That way, you're directing the magic of yourself. But it's even more fun just to let the magic happen as it wants to, because it's your magic. And that way, it keeps telling you more and more about your magical self. Then the magic flows through you with unimpeded delight. If you keep saying, I want it this way and no other, then you may be limiting your physical experience, because there's no doubt that your inner magical self knows more about your potentials than you do, and it will tell you quite clearly if you only listen. To many adults, all of this sounds too simplistic and unintellectual, because unfortunately, many of them think that the mind is just something to say no with and to keep out magic. Nothing could be further from the truth. But if you use your mind to say no to magic, then it's like closing doors to your own charmed existence and refusing to use the full power of your life. Everyone works with magic, whether they realize it or not. Beliefs are magic too, you see. Many people think that one particular belief makes everything right or makes magic happen, and as long as they believe that, they're all right for a while. But if they start doubting that belief and don't find another one to replace it, then they think that they've lost their magic, or that life has. Instead, of course, the magic is there all along. But people love systems, so they use all kinds of beliefs, some of them quite handy as aids. And they travel through belief systems, sometimes going to considerable trouble to do so, when all they really have to remember is that they are magic themselves, and their lives are charmed without their having to do anything about it at all. And your conscious mind is magic too. Its workings are mysterious and complicated, and simple and clear at once, like air is. Your conscious mind looks out through your eyes and knows parcels of air as its body, and smiles through cheeks and skin the same way that the moon shines through the wide skin of the heavens. See how clear and mysterious it all is? So, in a way, it's silly for the conscious mind to question magic, because, well, it's so magical itself. But systems of magic are silly too, and all of them are really based upon doubt. Magic is considered so tenuous that someone has to be at it all the time, making spells or paying someone else to do it. And the spells all have to be done just right, so people concentrate on how to do this spell or another. This gets very complicated, and many adult books deal with the subject. But everything is a spell. Your words and thoughts are spells. Science is just another system that tries to discover what certain spells cause certain effects. Usually, of course, scientists don't understand magic any more than priests do, and they all get caught up in their own complicated methods. There isn't much difference between muttering a lot of different phrases or drawing magic circles to protect yourself against illness, and taking handfuls of pills given to you by doctors. Both methods work if you believe in them, though the practitioners of one method will never agree that the other way works at all, of course. And unfortunately, Neither side really understands magic, which is behind all of the spells and methods and formulas. Spells work if you believe in them, only you don't need spells at all. Everything happens by itself. You happen by yourself, so does the world. And the principle behind it is all magic. And magic is the beingness within and behind all things. The body and creaturehood. Within your creaturehood, you have all kinds of freedom. And all of the freedom you can ever enjoy in your lifetime must come through your creaturehood. Some people spend a good deal of time trying to ignore their own bodies, or trying to pretend that they only have minds, or that minds alone are important. Some people even try to ignore their bodies almost entirely in an effort to be more spiritual, or to be better people, which is like a bird trying to fly better than any other bird alive, all the time refusing to use its wings, or pretending that they weren't there. He'd never get off the ground. A bird would never think of such foolishness, of course, and often other creatures are smarter than people. In fact, whenever you're in trouble, it's a good idea to watch the animals, for they bask in their freedom and don't worry about their limitations. A cat or dog can teach you a lot. A cat really enjoys its catness, just as you should enjoy your creaturehood. Even a fly buzzing around the ceiling loves its own reality and is free in it. If it stopped to wonder whether or not it could really fly well, it would fall down in a minute or never go fast enough to outwit your mother's fly swatter. So trying to be religious or good or better by ignoring your body doesn't make much sense either. Actually, each person has a private kingdom for his or her very own, because your body is the one part of earth that is really yours, that no one can take away during your lifetime. It's the part of earth moving and alive that belongs to you and nobody else. In a way, it's your portion of the planet, sprung up in a living, moving statue of earth stuff for you and no one else. So how you treat your body is important. You just don't live in it either. You live through it. There's a difference. You flow through it, moving in all of its parts. The body is your own magic country. Your conscious mind is like a monarch. Now, a good king or queen is loving and gives the people freedom to move about the country. In this case, your own feelings and thoughts and desires are like the people in your kingdom. So, you should treat your own feelings graciously, and your kingdom will flourish. Some monarchs are dictators, setting up all kinds of impossible laws and taboos because they're really afraid of the people who make up their own kingdom. If you're a good king or queen, you'll realize that your kingdom is a good one, and you won't be afraid of your own people, your thoughts and your feelings and desires, but will encourage them. And you and your body will have all the freedom necessary to flourish and grow.